Hey guys, the Cyberverse here. Happy 4th of July if you celebrate that. I don't, but it's cool if you do. If so, then save me a burger. Anyways, we're gonna be talking about Optimus Prime. I mean, look at this guy. He has red, white, and blue, and a bit of yellow in there, but let's not talk about that. It's basically the embodiment of the American flag, kinda like Captain America. With Transformers Kingdom, getting closer and closer to actually airing on Netflix with zero promotion from Netflix, which might mean that they're not as confident on this show, and honestly I wouldn't blame them. I'm not gonna talk about that too much, but I've been thinking a lot about that lately, and that has gotten me to think about the man, the myth, the legend himself, Peter Cullen. Now, growing up, I didn't really grow up with Peter Cullen voicing Optimus Prime. For the longest time, it was somebody else because I lived somewhere else rather than America, and therefore the Transformers shows were dubbed in another language. Same for the movies. I'm not gonna say where, not gonna say who voiced them, because honestly, that's gonna tip you off to where I'm from, and I don't want that. Also, I don't memorize the names of some voice actors, most voice actors, so it's like, yeah, I couldn't tell you even if I wanted to. But the point is that Dark of the Moon was probably my first introduction with Peter Cullen, and ever since then I watched him, voice the character in some reruns of G1, Transformers Prime, the Cybertron games, and Optimus Prime's voice always stood out to me. Like, he was like the strong and caring Autobot, like he was like a leader or a father figure, depending on how you view it. And thinking about Peter Cullen a lot lately, the man's apparently turning 80 real soon, so I wanna say happy early birthday, I guess. But besides that, as you all may know, in the Bumblebee movie, Peter Cullen, what he did voice Optimus Prime, he actually wasn't the first choice to voice Optimus Prime in that movie. Apparently they got somebody else to do the voice of Optimus Prime, but later down the line they got Peter Cullen to come back for the movie, and he had to basically modify his dialogue a bit to coincide with the guy who was previously voicing Optimus Prime, since I think they had some of those scenes done. And then, in Cyberverse, it was probably like the first big time where Hasbro openly tried to replace Peter Cullen. Fans gonna just dismiss that as, oh, Cyberverse is like a kid's show, it's not supposed to be taken too seriously, so it makes sense having another Optimus Prime. And honestly, I agree with that. But for Netflix, I think we all kind of expected Optimus Prime or some OG voice actors to return. Instead, we got a cast of new people, and while I wouldn't say they're bad, Rooster Teeth's direction leaves a lot to be desired. Now, why am I talking about this? I talked about this previously, Cullen has made previous videos about this. I think there's been a lot of other Transformers YouTubers who have made videos about this, and it looks like Hasbro's kind of trying to get rid of Peter Cullen. Now, I'm not saying like trying to get rid of as in they don't want him to show up anymore. I think they still do want him to show up. As we all know, he got cast to be in Rise of the Beast as, the voice of Optimus Prime. But, I mean, the man is an elderly gentleman. He's about to be 80 years old, and not to be morbid, but we don't know for how much longer he's gonna be able to voice the character. So from a cynical point of view, it does make sense for Hasbro to look for a replacement. And obviously, I am not against having older people voice Optimus Prime. Honestly, I think we can all agree that Henry Chuck, the guy who voices Optimus Primal in Beast Wars and Optimus Prime in Armada, Energon, and Cybertron, does a really splendid job. He's honestly my second choice to replace Peter Cullen if he ever were unable to voice Optimus Prime. But now for the point of this video. I don't know if you guys remember, but during the build-up for Age of Extinction, back before I was doing YouTube and when I was like following TheRaginNation, I remember that he made a video talking about Peter Cullen having a cameo in the movie. And honestly, the more I've been thinking about it, I'm like, we never got a Peter Cullen cameo in any of the movies. I know he voices the character, and a lot of people might say, oh yeah, that's enough for him. To me, Peter Cullen's kind of like the Stan Lee of Transformers. He's very popular, and like I feel like him having a cameo in the movies is almost mandatory. Like, the man's a legend. He basically voiced Optimus Prime in G1. He's the man who started it all, so I think it makes sense that he should have a small cameo in the movies. And like most people and like TheRaginNation mentioned a couple of years ago, I think if you were to add him in the movies, he should be driving Optimus Prime like a hologram. Holograms are something that, the Autobots and started to confuse throughout the movies. They started appearing less and less after, I want to say, Dark of the Moon or Revenge of the Fallen. A Peter Cullen cameo of him just driving Optimus Prime, like, as a hologram, I think that would be amazing. That would be perfect. Even the IDW movie comics, which are a direct tie-in to the movies, do show Peter Cullen driving Optimus Prime, and that's amazing. I want that to happen in the actual film. Besides, from what we know from director Steve Capo Jr., he did mention that he wants Transformers Rise of the Beast to be an Optimus Prime center movie. From what the reports say, it's gonna be our main character, not the humans. He's gonna be learning from Optimus Primal to become the Optimus Prime we all know and love by the time of 2007. So I think that this is the perfect opportunity to give Peter Cullen a cameo. Peter Cullen did say that his wish was to be part of an Optimus Prime solo movie before he passes away. I believe he said that. I'm not entirely sure because it's been a while, because this was pretty early on during the days of like post Bumblebee movie. But I do remember an article, an interview with him saying that. And I think this will be like a really great way to fulfill the wish for this man. I mean, even if this movie doesn't turn out to be very good, like the Bay movies, or even if it does turn out being very good, I still want Peter Cullen to make a cameo. So I want to formally, right now, today, in this video, hashtag Peter Cullen for TF7, or something like that, I don't know. Basically, the goal is to get Peter Cullen a small cameo in the film. It doesn't have to be anything too big, like him appearing for a couple of seconds like Stan Lee does will be honestly more than enough for me. So if you guys are interested in that happening, you know, just hashtag Peter Cullen for TF7 on Twitter, Instagram, whatever you use. Let the studio and people over there know that we want this to happen. Will it happen? I don't know, depends on how many of you actually decide to do it. But the point is to spread awareness, you know. If enough people from the Transformers community like want this to become true, then the studio could always go back and like actually put Peter Cullen in the movie as through CGI, or maybe they actually get him on set. Because remember, the movie is still being shot at this point, so there is a lot of time, a lot of room for this to actually take place. But that's up to the fans if they're willing to fight hard enough for it. Peter Cullen, the man, the myth, the legend, the mad lad who has voiced Optimus Prime since the 80s. Like, the man doesn't just voice Optimus Prime, the man is Optimus Prime. But yeah guys, if you guys want this to happen, like, comment, and subscribe. Hashtag this on any social media you want. Let's get the word out. Let's, you know, start a conversation whether this can be made, how should it be made. And I want you guys to go to the comment section and tell me your favorite role, scene, or dialogue that Peter Cullen has ever done. For me, my favorite piece of dialogue from Peter Cullen voicing Optimus Prime will have to be in Transformers Prime, the ending to Predacons Rising. I think the little speech he gave was wonderful and a great send-off for Optimus Prime, until Robots in Disguise kinda ruined it. But to me, that moment still kinda stands on its own as being very powerful and very great. Anyways, this is gonna be another short video, so I'm gonna give a quick shout out to our Patreons: TrueBlue712, Stephanie Ballard, Stitch Productions, Prada King Hunter Plays, Ospark Studio, Mario Gordon, Christopher Prime, Scrub Lordo, and to our two Biggie Bold patrons, Jordan the Great and XNewer23, who donated what I can only describe as a amount of money. I'll leave you guys to figure out how much. Thank you guys for donating. If you guys want to donate to my Patreon, links will be in the description down below, even though you totally don't have to because it's entirely optional. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and let's get the word out. So yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care guys. Oh, and happy 4th of July for all of you Americans out there. Bye.